Good evening, this is BrassTacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The Congress party hit the streets of Delhi and several other cities across the country today, once again protesting against Sonia Gandhi's questioning by the Enforcement Directorate in the AJL National Herald case. Now, there were dramatic scenes where Congress party alleged that many of its workers were manhandled. The question is, why does the Congress insist on street protests if they're dead sure about the innocence of their leaders? How was Young India, a not-for-profit Section 25 company, allowed to take over AJL, a newspaper company that had been running for close to a century, and it owed a collective 90 crores to the Congress party? This is despite the fact that AJL was sitting on thousands of crores worth of property. And to the BJP, why has the Enforcement Directorate woken up to this case now, 7 years after a court took cognizance, basis a private complaint, and granted bail to the Gandhis? But first, the story of the day so far.
From clashing with cops to indulging in vandalism, Congress pulled out all the stops as their party president was questioned for the second time by the Enforcement Directorate. While Sonia Gandhi landed up at the ED office accompanied by daughter Priyanka, Congress MPs, including her son Rahul, marched from the Gandhi statue in Parliament to Vijay Chowk. And then all hell broke loose.
Leaders being taken into the buses there by the policemen on duty here. You can see scuffle going on. The media and the Congress party leaders there, you can see how they're being carried away. There's a full struggle between the members of parliament and the police there. Police carrying them away into buses.
From climbing barricades to fierce confrontations, Congress leaders faced off with police who were present in huge numbers. And several of them were detained, including Rahul Gandhi.
सारे सांसद आए, हाँ, और उन्होंने महंगाई की बात की, हाँ, और बेरोजगारी की बात की, और ये हमें यहाँ बैठने नहीं दे रहे, हाँ, अंदर बात नहीं करी जा रही है, डिस्कशन नहीं अलाउड है, हाँ, और यहाँ पे हमसे अरेस्ट कर रहे हैं.
Youth Congress chief B.V. Srinivas, who was also detained, was manhandled by the police. On camera, one police officer could be seen pulling his hair. While Congress called it a brutal crackdown, here is what their party workers did in city after city in the name of Satyagraha. In Kannur, Youth Congress workers blocked a train, got into a scuffle with police, and were eventually detained. In Nagpur, Congress workers indulged in arson, setting a car on fire in the middle of the road. In Indore, Congress workers vandalized the ED office, blackening the board to register their protest. And just a few yards from the ED headquarters, where Sonia Gandhi was questioned, a bike was set on fire. We saw similar protests when Rahul Gandhi was questioned 5 times by the ED last month. But why turn a routine questioning into a spectacle?
All right, on the talking point this evening, Supriya Srinath, Congress Party spokesperson, is joining us. Also head of the Congress's digital wing. Nalin Kohli of the BJP, national spokesperson, will be joining us. Kapil Sankla, senior advocate. Hemant Atri, senior journalist. Shantanu Gupta, author, also on the broadcast this evening. Let me start with you, Supriya. Every time Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi is called for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate, what should be a matter of routine, Congress party workers hit the streets. 2 questions. If you're convinced about the innocence of your leaders, why should the same rules of interrogation and probe not apply to them as it did to others in this case, namely Mr. Kharge and Mr. Bansal? Congress party workers did not come out to the streets when they were questioned.
So I'm going to answer your question in a bit, but because your report and also your opening comments have said some things which are not true, let me bust those myths. You had said, why did Young India take over AJL? I dispute that with all the knowledge in me and all the financial knowledge that I have on this case. AJL has not been taken over by Young Indian. It's a lie the BJP and its IT cell peddles. Don't fall for it. Young India is a shareholder of AJL. Debt was extinguished and transferred as equity, like it happens all across the world, including in India. First myth busted, AJL has not been taken over by Young India. The second thing you said was...
One second,
crores,
Supriya, 1 second. I just want to clarify. I want to clarify on this.
1 second.
I want to clarify on this. You said debt was converted into equity. How much equity does Young India have in AJL?
You are questioning me on a subject that I have a little prowess over. When you say in your opening introduction, a company has been taken over, it means its assets are transferred to Young Indian. No asset of AJL has been transferred to Young Indian.
Fair enough.
AJL is the
that's not the question I asked you.
Shareholder. Let me finish.
That's not the question I asked you. I asked you a very simple question.
I'm giving you an answer. No. I am exposing something that you said which was not completely true.
Can you answer a very simple question that I asked you? Supriya, again, for the benefit of our viewers.
I am answering a very simple question. No,
how much equity does Young India have in AJL? It's a simple question.
Zaka, I will again repeat myself. I will not answer your question until I have proven you wrong. And your report wrong on three big
I'm wrong. I concede.
That the channel is propagating.
I concede. I'm wrong.
Reportage.
I'm wrong. You've corrected me on national television.
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
Let me finish.
Now, please answer my question. How much equity does Young India have in AJL?
No, I will not.
Okay.
That's not how it can work. No,
okay.
no.
Okay.
That's not how it can work. Let me finish my points. I will answer
your question. Ahead. Okay, go ahead.
So your first thing was a completely wrong statement.
Okay.
Completely wrong statement. AJL has not been taken over by Young Indian. You said thousands of worth of crore of property. According to the income tax's own valuation that has been submitted, all the property of AJL is valued at 359 crore rupees. So the BJP's media machinery cannot peddle 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 crore rupee lie, because that is a lie. On paper, what the income tax department is saying is 359 crore rupees. The third important part that you mentioned and your report mentioned, why does AJL have to be revived? They had so much of loan. Yes, because AJL is a symbol of our national inheritance. AJL played a very important role during the freedom struggle. It had mounting debt. That debt had to be converted into equity. Over 100 tranches through check and bank transfer. 90 crore worth of loan was given from the Congress party to AJL for Provident Fund, for gratuity, for paying taxes, for electricity bills, for VRS. And we are not ashamed of that, because we wanted the guiding light of independence to stay alive. Today, AJL publishes National Herald, Navjeevan, Qaumi Awaaz, and has a very vibrant social media platform and digital platform. I will now answer your question. I will answer your question. Your report went on to say, why make a tamasha? Why not make a tamasha? How dare 144 section is imposed right outside the Congress headquarters? We said we will sit at Rajghat and protest peacefully. We were denied that permission, not just denied, section 144 imposed at Rajghat also. What sort of a government is this? And this is not routine questioning. Let us remember that. The Enforcement Directorate has a character. It has a character to question people in opposition. The police has a character to manhandle members of the opposition.
I will ask those to the BJP. I will ask those to the BJP. But once again, at the risk of repetition, you started off by saying debt was converted into equity. Young India does not own AJL.
Yes,
it is only a shareholder. So I'm asking you again,
I will answer your question.
How much of the shareholding is with Young India?
I will answer that question. I will answer that question. And I know the premise of that question, because that's another lie that the BJP peddles and the media is consuming. I understand the premise. Young India owns over 90% equity. But Young India is one more shareholder of AJL. And Young India, unlike other shareholders, is a Section 25 company, not for profit. So no matter what Young India does, its shareholders, namely Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi and the others, do not get a penny in remuneration, dividend, any other income.
I'm glad
so
you clarified.
You are telling me that no money is
I'm glad you clarified.
No, let me finish.
Anyway.
Let me finish.
Supriya, it's been 7 minutes since the debate started. It's been 7 minutes. There are 4 other guests who are waiting.
It's a debate on my party.
Yes,
it's
of course,
a debate on
of
the lies
course,
that
of
are being
course.
peddled in
But
sections
there
of
are
the media.
5 other
It's only fair that
participants.
I
So
put
with
it
your
out.
permission,
I have
please.
busted 3 myths
Okay,
that have
please
been
indulge me.
propagated.
Let me go to Nalin
Please go
Kohli
ahead.
now.
3
Nalin
myths,
Kohli.
3 lies exposed.
First,
big
okay,
lies exposed on your channel.
first thing that Supriya says she has busted is number one, you are going on and on saying that Young India owns AJL. Young India does not own AJL. She says it's only a shareholding company, just like any other shareholding company. Number two, she says it does not have thousands of crores worth of property. It only has 350 odd crores of property as per IT returns of AJL. Please respond to both of those points.
No. As per income tax records.
Yes, that's
Not
what I said, as per IT
income
returns.
Income tax has said 359
Yes,
crores.
that's what I said.
No. Not IT returns. Income tax.
Okay.
No, there's a difference.
Okay,
What I
okay.
write in my IT
Nalin.
return is different. The income tax on record has said our assets are worth
Okay.
359
All right,
crore
Nalin,
rupees.
yeah.
The income tax department, not us. Wrong there again.
So Zaka, let me make my position clear. I have heard Ms. Srinath speak rather agitatedly. She's entitled to. It's none of my concern. I'm interested to put my point of view, and I hope I have the courtesy of not being disturbed at all. Okay. And I'd also request you to tell your team I'm receiving feedback of my voice backwards, so it's
we'll fix that.
interrupting me.
Yeah.
So before you come to me, perhaps you can go to another guest.
No, go ahead. I can hear you. We'll fix that as you speak. Yes, go ahead.
You can hear me, but I'm getting disturbed with my own voice coming back in my feedback.
It's being fixed as we speak, Nalin.
Yeah, so let's first approach this as the matter is. This case happened 10 years ago, and this is also tweeted by Amit Malviya, my colleague in the party, where the Congress spokesperson or whoever it is from a Congress party acknowledges that the case is 10 years old. It has nothing to do with the BJP government being in power 10 years ago. It was Dr. Manmohan Singh's government which did so. Number two, what is the case? The case involves a company called AJL. This is an old company with assets worth thousands of crores. You may argue it is worth a few hundred crores. It doesn't matter. It has assets. This company was advanced loans by the Congress party. The Congress party is a political party, not a bank or an FBFC. This party then gets money on a basis by collecting it by chanda or donations from people, which means you have an income tax identity, you have an election identity, and your job is not to advance loans to companies or individuals. It is to do political purpose, and those funds are meant purely for that. In the meantime, this company is formed, which is your pertinent question, Young Indians. Young Indians is owned by the Nehru Gandhi family, primarily Sonia Gandhi ji and Rahul Gandhi ji. The entire loans of AGL get assigned to this company of Young Indians for some 50 lakhs or something like that. So it now raises a question. The shareholding of a company with hundreds or thousands of crores gets transferred to a company owned by the Nehru Gandhi family for an amount of 50 lakhs or something like that. And the question is why? If this company was shutting down, it would have got sold, the assets would have got sold, it would have got settled. So the question is pertinent, why is the Nehru Gandhi family taking control of the assets of a company which owns assets worth hundreds or thousands of crores? This case started 10 years ago. On this matter, there is a bail on which Sonia Gandhi ji and Rahul Gandhi ji are out. That means courts are applying their prima facie view and seeing that there is a reason there that is not making sense. They are on bail on the matter, and it is to be believed that no, the BJP is persecuting them. They went to the court. They sought from the court some relief. The court has given them bail but not quashed or destroyed the case registered against them. So no matter what the Congress party's spokespersons may wish to say, the fact of the matter is there is something here that is not right.
Okay.
There is something here that courts and agencies believe that it's credible, that needs to be investigated.
Okay.
And like any other Indian citizen, they are not above the law. They need to be investigated.
Okay.
This is not a subject
let me
honesty.
let me
this
now.
is a political stunt.
Let me go to the other guests as well. Kapil one second. One at a time. I'll come back to you in due course. Let me go to Kapil Sankla. Kapil Sankla, one of the primary arguments raised by Nalin Kohli is, as per the Representation of People's Act 1950, a political party is not allowed to give a loan. So how did the Congress party, or in this case, Young India, take over the entire loans of AJL? First of all, how can the Congress party give loans to the tune of 90 crores over a period of time? I'm not saying 1 year or 2 years, but over a period of time. How can it lend as much as 90 crore rupees to the running of a newspaper?
There are two parts of what I'm about to say. One, the purely legal matrix, and then the factual matrix. In terms of Section 29A to C of the Representation of People's Act, and also in terms of Section 13A of the Income Tax Act, it is illegal for any political party to lend money for commercial use or other purposes. In this case, the money that was given was unsecured, and there have been number of judgments and scams where the Honorable Supreme Court, various courts, CBI courts have stated that and have questioned under what circumstances have you given unsecured loans. So that's the first part, what is questionable as far as the law is concerned. And now the second part of it, just the background on what is the legality or the illegality in the entire transaction. Well, AJL was created with around 5,000 shareholders pre-independence. There are around 1,000 shareholders which are still alive and they still own the shares in AJL. So the first question was, how could the AJL's assets be transferred to another company without a notice to them? That's the first legal encumbrance which is there.
No,
and the fallacy
in that,
in the
just,
argument
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Supriya's contention and the Congress party's contention is that the assets were never transferred. AJL continues to hold those assets.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
I'm coming to that. You see, it's potatoes. I mean, you transfer the shares in a company, the physical shares will never go. It would be the shareholding that would go. So the question is, then you say, oh, physically the property did not go. It doesn't really matter. The shares got transferred. The company for all its purposes is now a part of Young India. Young India owns all its shares. The company only owns freehold and leasehold properties. The properties were given by the government over the years as government largesses, and therefore these properties predominantly belong to the government. Importantly, also are those properties which are leasehold properties. So leasehold property cannot be transferred without the permission of the government department, which actually owns that company. So therefore there is an absolute inherent fallacy in the argument that was being put. And this is no politically motivated, this is what the law is. So, you can call it anything, but the fact is that the assets got transferred. Okay. And the assets got transferred without keeping in loop the shareholders of AGL. So, if there were 5,000 shareholders and there are 1,000 shareholders, I think Justice Kaju is also one of the shareholders. Correct. Because I just read his tweet. The question was that they had to be put to notice. They were never put to notice. Okay. That's the first part. The second part is that in 2008, AGL stopped printing. All these properties predominantly which are leasehold properties or out of government largesses were given to AGL for the purpose of printing the 3 papers that they were printing. Once they stopped printing, the question arose, would these properties, either they have to change the nature of those properties and then you of course require government permissions, etc., or these properties go back to the government or the government departments that own these properties. Okay. Interestingly, in this case, none of that happens. The properties are still retained by AGL. AGL starts the business of construction and commercial ventures and starts running different, enjoys rental properties from commercial properties, and nobody raises the question. Everything is hunky-dory. The second question then is, how could AGL, of course, change its business model without permission from its shareholders and without first informing the government as far as those properties are concerned, because there are substantial properties which are leasehold properties and not just freehold properties. That's the second legal encumbrance. All right. The third, of course, as you rightly said, that the Congress party could not have given a loan, in this case an unsecured loan of a substantial amount of 90 crore to a company. Now the interesting part is Congress, of course, is predominantly owned by the Gandhis and the other people who are very closely linked to the Gandhis, etc., which is fine. AGL 33 or 30% odd was owned by the Gandhi family as well as people close to the Gandhi family. Young India 70 or 75% is owned by the Gandhis directly, and of course people close to the Gandhi family. And so the Gandhi's argument, or the argument of the Congress, is that these are just 3 basic units which are part of the Congress, and therefore you cannot raise any question. But the question here is, that
Absolutely
AGL that
wrong.
owns,
This is
Madam,
a
just a
lie.
second, Madam, just a
Supriya,
second,
Supriya,
Madam,
one second,
just a
please,
second. I
please.
could be
I
louder,
think everyone
Madam.
is
I do
best
this for a
served.
living.
Everyone
Please
is
let me
best
just
served
finish.
when
Let
we
me
go
finish,
one by
Madam.
one, please.
I could go on and on, Madam. Let me finish.
You've been in my
Thank you.
position
Thank
before,
you,
so
Madam, I
please,
understand that. I could understand that I
please bear
probably
with
am lying.
Kapil as he finishes.
But what
yes.
I'm saying is, as far as Thank you. As I said, these are just legal arguments as I understand the facts before me and nothing else.
Okay.
So the question here is, and the question is very, very limited, is one, how could AGL transfer its shareholding to Young India? That's one. How could Young India, which was a recently created entity, get itself registered as a not-for-profit organization where all it was to do is to own the shareholding of AGL that owned substantial properties and was earning profit or earning money
Income
from commercial
from those
ventures.
properties. Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
the second question. And third, of course, yes, please. And third, of course, is very rightly, how could Congress either fund AGL at any time or fund Young India, which is also one of the allegations. I'm not privy to that. So there are three issues.
I want to go.
which
I want to go
require
to
merit and
Shantanu as well as
consideration.
to Hemant Attri. But Shantanu first. I mean, you heard the legal part. I want to ask the political question. What Congress Party and Supriya and all have been arguing is, how come the ED, the IT, CBI never go after BJP MPs or BJP leaders or leaders who were from other parties who joined the BJP against whom there were corruption allegations, whether it's a Hemanta Biswa Sarma, whether it's a Mukul Roy, whether it's a Suvendu Adhikari. Somehow they seem to be holier than the Ganga, whereas all the opposition parties and their leaders are the ones who are targeted by the enforcement agencies.
Zaka, to my understanding, this complaint against the National Herald also started with a private complaint. I'm sure that every fourth leader in Congress is a lawyer. They have a battery of lawyers in the party. They can go against and file a complaint against these people and follow in the courts of law. I think that is not an argument that because the five people are corrupt or seems to be corrupt, you can't probe, you can't do the investigation against the Rahul Gandhi or against the Sonia Gandhi. What kind of argument is that? In fact, just 2 days back, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary lied ED, lied CBI and written a letter to Mamata Banerjee that they should remove Partha Chatterjee from the party. So I think their ED CBI becomes fine, but when they interrogate the Rahul Gandhi and the Sonia Gandhi and other legal luminaries very brightly explained the case, they are not even part of the complying with the investigation. Then the street, then no, you can't even. You can do all the hodgepodge, you can do multiple companies, you can give loan in 50 lakh, you can write off a 90 crore rupee loan to, and Supriya Synergy said, no, it's not a 2,000 crore rupees crime they have done. They have done a 359 crore rupees crime. Okay, that's fine. But you can't probe them. I think that's the problem we have.
Okay. Hemant Attri, just to take this forward, I think one of the points that I want to take this forward, one of the points that the lawyer made, Mr. Sankla made, is that there was an obvious conflict of interest. Taking the point that he made further, there was an obvious conflict of interest when you have 76% of a not-for-profit Section 25 company owned by Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi, and the remaining 24-25% owned by two other loyalists who are not there with us anymore. In the case of Mr. Vora, who used to be the long-time treasurer of the party, he was involved in all three entities. He was part of AJL, he was a shareholder and a director at Young India, and of course, he was a treasurer of the AICC, which had lent 90 crores to AJL. I mean, in the private sector, this would be called conflict of interest, a textbook case of conflict of interest.
Zaka, I hope I have listened to everybody for good 22 minutes. I hope that you will give me at least 2 minutes uninterrupted. See, brother, the thing is, what is happening around? If it is such a serious case as my esteemed lawyer friend was saying, why Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi scot-free till date? It was investigated, investigation started in 2014. It is 8 years hence, on 31st of July, 8 years will be completed. Why are they scot-free till date in a zero-tolerance government like Modi at the top, at the helm of the affairs? Point number one. Point number two, the kind of discussion that is happening around, something very disturbing. All these political parties, Zaka, they are political opponents. They are not enemies. If there is some investigation going on, every investigating agency has a right to get into the depths of the thing, details of the thing. My point is something else. Say about a year back or so, they investigated and interrogated Mr. Robert Vadra also. Can you please tell me where is that case now? Has he been arrested or proven guilty? What is ED doing in since 1955 till date? What is their conviction rate? Zaka, it is not the issue. See, we are a mature democracy. We are the largest democracy of the world. The kind of things that are happening on the roads, we are not a banana republic. Today, all those MPs who were protesting, everybody has a right to protest peacefully. Were they making any meanings on that? They were not allowed to go to Rajghat also. You please arrest everybody who is there. No problems. But there is a certain decorum and way of handling things and people. The way AYCC president was, they held him from the hair. Is it something is a civilized society that allows? My point is something very different, Zaka. These things should be investigated and investigated properly with not a lot of political noise.
Okay.
See, this is Zaka, a white collar crime. It's not a like 302 case, 302 murder case, wherein you have to, recover many things. It's a black and white on paper crime, if at all it has happened. See, so unless and until you want to get into the depth of it, and you were not able to make into 8 years, why today? Zaka, these questions will arise, my dear brother.
Okay.
Now the thing is, how Congress takes it. Now the problem comes in a very different way. If they make a hue and cry, you and me ask why they are doing it. If they don't come out on the road, we ask why they are coming on the roads. My point is something very different. In a democratic setup, there are two parts. One is ruling and other one is opposition.
Yeah.
Now, if at all the Congress party is coming on the roads, maybe on a wrong pretext, let me suffice that. They are coming on a wrong pretext for the very simple reason. There are n number of issues which are relating to the masses at large in this country, maybe unemployed, maybe n number of things. Why they are not protesting on that? Why on this?
Okay.
So,
Shantanu wanted to make a quick rebuttal, then I'll go to Supriya. Yeah. All right. Shantanu, quickly, please.
Zaka, my limited point is, I think he's saying police should be more humane. I think we all agree police in India, from West Bengal to Rajasthan, from Chhattisgarh to Kerala, should be more humane. But that does not absolve that Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi should
not be called for questioning. Okay.
Should not be called for questioning.
Okay.
Why don't you arrest them?
No. Arrest happens if in the course of an investigation they find a person not to be cooperating, then yes, then arrest happens. But anyway, Supriya, please respond to the points that couple made. Number one, what was a political party doing lending loans to a company? Number two, this whole conflict of interest.
I heard that.
Okay, go ahead.
I heard it. I heard it. I'm actually quite shocked, and I hope I will be given a patient listening just because I have listened to all the lies that have been peddled on your show right now. What I'm very shocked about it is one thing for authors to come here and faff. It's one thing for actually lawyers to peddle lies and circumvent the law, just like the BJP spokesperson and the so-called lawyer
sorry,
on your
madam,
panel
I would
just
request
did.
you to be very
Who doesn't
careful
understand?
about what you
I did not
say,
speak in
because
between.
as I said that I am not politically motivated.
Okay.
But I did not point fingers at you. I would request that you don't point fingers at me. You could not agree with me, but you could be still humane.
Couple, give her a moment, please. Yes.
You can please keep quiet now.
Supriya.
It is not your turn.
Yeah, Supriya, on merit, please. On merit.
Quiet. You peddle lies, which I will bust on this show.
On merit,
I will tell you something. You are actually liable for a lie that you just peddled.
You could say whatever you
said,
want to.
One at a time, please. Thank you.
Of course, madam, but that's
One at a time, please.
Patience,
You're all veterans on this
keep
show.
quiet.
Supriya, yeah.
You've said
go
the
ahead.
law, now let me interpret
But Supriya,
it
on
for
substance,
you.
yes.
You
Yeah.
said on this show here, on substance, the lawyer on this show here said AJL owned by Gandhis or some people close to him. Absolutely a damn lie. The Gandhis have nothing to do with AJL whatsoever. They have not been directors, they have not been shareholders, they have not been involved in management of the company.
Throwing out
Big
a word,
white
lies,
lie
peddling lies
by a
and all that
lawyer
stuff.
sitting here.
आप अपना point
Keep
बनाइए ना.
quiet.
एक तो point
You are
आपके पास है नहीं,
peddling lies.
बदतमीजी से आप
आप
इतना
झूठ
ज्यादा
बोल रहे हैं.
ये कोई
आप
तरीका है
आके
क्या
यहाँ
बोलने
पर
का
झूठ
चैनल
बोलते हैं,
पे?
बदतमीजी
अरे
मत
लोगों के
करिए
ऊपर झूठ
मुझसे.
बोल रहे हैं, झूठ
आप
बोल रहे हैं, झूठ
बदतमीजी
बोल रहे हैं.
Nalin, one second. Nalin, you guys are both senior spokespersons.
Absolutely not. We are also guests on the show. We are
Yeah,
sitting
of course, which is why I'll come to you and I'll give you ample.
Controller ask us to leave.
Sir,
We are not doing any favor sitting here to listen to her.
Sir,
She can have an academic tongue for any reason. But she can unleash it on us.
Sir, you will be given adequate time and opportunity.
You against the other panelists.
What?
Enough of this rubbish from this
You
lady.
guys
Sir,
are
sir,
liars.
Sir, you're a senior lawyer. You're a senior spokesperson. One second. Both of you are senior spokespersons. One at a time. I will give you adequate time to respond. If both of you are speaking at the same time, it serves neither your purpose nor my purpose, because my viewers are left, lesser for it. Okay.
All of you liars.
Supriya, come on. Substance, not adjectives. On substance, on merit, not adjectives, please. Supriya, answer the question, please. Supriya, please, on merit, on substance, no adjectives, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Zaka, I just exposed a lie that was said on your show. This man is liable.
Please answer on merit, ma'am. Please answer on merit. Not with adjectives. Yes.
अरे यार एक पॉइंट तुम्हारे शो पर बोला गया, आपके शो पर एक पॉइंट बोला गया.
He asked a very specific question. How was the shareholding transferred? Simple question.
Zaka, that's your problem. They were lies said. I am going to answer one by one. पहला झूठ बोला गया, AGL का गांधी से लेना था, कोई लेना देना नहीं था, झूठ बोला गया, वो झूठ था. दूसरा यहाँ पर बोला गया एजीएल का एसेट ट्रांसफर हो गया. कौन सा एसेट ट्रांसफर हुआ है सर यंग इंडिया में, जरा मुझे बताइएगा. अगर मेरी कंपनी का ट्रांसफर होता है एसेट तो म्यूटेशन होता है. एक भी म्यूटेशन का रिकॉर्ड है आपके पास? आई हैव सेड इट वंस अगेन, इट्स अ डैम व्हाइट लाई. No asset has been transferred. Two lawyers on the panel lied about it. No asset transfer.
Politicians with some knowledge of law.
No asset transfer. You are again lying. Do not lie. Do not lie.
All right. Nalin now respond. Okay, Nalin now respond. Okay, Nalin respond.
I mean, I'm not going to have a colleague of mine at the bar facing this kind of rubbish.
Nalin respond.
I'm also a lawyer and I agree with every word he
You
says.
should face the rubbish because you are a bloody liar.
Hey, what is
Come on, Supriya, come on. No, language, ma'am, no, come on. Ma'am, no, not this language. Not this language. No, not in my show. No, not this language. Please. Come on, no.
This is hypocrisy
All right.
of the worst kind.
Now, Nalin to respond. No, I don't encourage this kind of language. I'm sorry.
She doesn't even have the courtesy of sitting in a
Nalin
show.
Nalin again,
What is
on
she
merit,
going to do?
please. On
This
merit.
is not the, I mean, I'm sorry.
Her contention.
I'm coming straight, Zaka. We are not here to listen to the personal insults of this spokesperson.
Yes.
She wants to be on an insulting trip. Go and do it on the street. Not on the shows when we are sitting. We also spend our time here to come here, prepare it. There's a colleague there in the bar. He's speaking the legal position, exactly what I as a lawyer understand and appreciate. You counter it on merits if you have a point. You go ahead and criticize the decision. Stop using these adjectives, liar, exposing the lie. This fellow is not saying, this is not a drama show. Arey bhai, aisa seedha sawal hai. Why is the Congress Party's first family, Gandhi family, involved in taking over a company? I don't understand. I mean, tell me one other political party that is trying to take over a company with assets. The share transfer is not there. These technical issues not there. If you have such a foolproof case, why did the court give you bail and did not quash the judgment? Why did it not quash the complaint?
You are a liar.
No. Look, I'm curtailing the debate. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. No, I'm curtailing the debate. I'm really sorry. I've never allowed the discourse to go down this low, and therefore I'm forced. I have no choice but to curtail the debate. It's rather unfortunate. It's an issue of great merit. It needs to be debated on merit, on substance. Unfortunately, it descended into name-calling and objectification, which, as my viewers know, I don't allow on this show. I'm going to move on and thank the first panel. I want to move on to the other substantial issue that has confronted our parliamentarians today. Today, 19 opposition members of parliament were suspended in the Rajya Sabha. Remember, yesterday, 4 Congress MPs were suspended in the Lok Sabha. The government says the presiding officers in both cases, the Speaker in the Lok Sabha, the Vice Chairperson in the Rajya Sabha, had no choice but to take this measure because the opposition was just not keen on letting the House run. The question that's being asked of the opposition is, there are grave matters of pressing concern which need to be discussed in the House. Wouldn't their purpose, which is ostensibly to put the government on the mat, ask them those tough questions, wouldn't that purpose be better served by having discussions in the House rather than disruption? But first, the story.
The House and South slogans, it is against the will.
Fireworks in Parliament have become synonymous. But this monsoon session we are witnessing a string of suspensions of opposition MPs. As many as 23 in 24 hours. Today, 19 MPs from Rajya Sabha were suspended for the rest of the week. They have been reprimanded for misconduct by entering the well of the House and indulging in sloganeering.
That is throttling our democratic right. Suspension has happened because this government has no answers. They do not know how to reply to inflation and price rise. That's the whole point.
But even after the suspension, the 19 MPs continue to sit in the House in protest. The latest showdown comes a day after 4 Congress MPs in Lok Sabha were suspended for the rest of the monsoon session. They had held placards inside the House despite warnings from Speaker Om Birla.
We once again repeat and request that the House be allowed to function smoothly and the government will be ready to discuss any issue, including price rise.
Ever since the monsoon session began last week, both houses have been repeatedly adjourned, with the opposition demanding discussions on price rise and GST. But the suspension spree is only likely to escalate the opposition's fury against the government. So is there no end in sight to the deadlock in Parliament?
Let me now go across to 2 members of Parliament, both from the upper house. Rakesh Sinha is BJP Member of Parliament and Syed Nasir Hussain, Congress Member of Parliament. Thank you very much, both of you gentlemen, for speaking with us. Dr. Hussain, I'll start with you because you're a member of the Parliament. You know this rule. 374A is very, very clear of the rules of conduct and business of the House, that no member of Parliament can raise slogans, can display placards, can willfully obstruct the business of the House, which is what opposition MPs did today in the Rajya Sabha. They got suspended, and yesterday in the Lok Sabha, where they got suspended.
You are asking me?
No, Nasir Hussain, sir.
Yeah, Zaka. I don't think there was anybody was obstructing the House. They were only sloganeering, they were protesting, they were asking for a discussion on price rise. It is not for the first time that we have asked for a discussion on price rise. We have been asking from the day this session started, that is from last Monday till now. And we have been asking, according to the rules of the House. There is something called Rule 267, according to which you have to suspend the day's business and discuss an important issue which concern the people of this country. I understand that the government will bring its bills, will bring its policies, its programs, its schemes to be discussed in the Parliament. We have always agreed to discuss that. At times we have discussed and passed it with a consensus. But at the same time, in a parliamentary democracy, it is also the responsibility of the government to see that the issues raised by the opposition, which concerns the people of our country, will have to be taken up in the discussion. And that discussion, for that, relevant rules, relevant portions of our rules are there, through which these discussions are enabled.
But Nasir Saab, you are asking for a discussion. You are asking for a discussion on price rise, and you are well aware, as is the country, that the finance minister is down with illness. She's down with COVID. All that the government was saying, let her come back and we'll have that discussion on price rise. Isn't that a fair argument?
Zaka, nobody said this, and this argument is only coming today. The government, the chairman every day, or the vice chairman, deputy chairman who was presiding every day in Rajya Sabha used to just come and say that there will be that these are the number of notices and these are the people, MPs who are given the notices under Rule 267, and the chairman had decided to not to have discussion. That's all.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Professor Rakesh Sinha, why is the government reluctant to have a discussion on price rise? Don't you consider this is an important issue, a pressing concern to the Aam Janta of this country?
You know, Jaka, anybody who is aware of the parliamentary democracy knows the importance of question hour and 0 hour. Both are the members' domain. We members of the Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha, whether a ruling party or the opposition party, have right to raise anything which is of public importance. And question hour particularly is a very important thing in parliamentary democracy. This is to check the government. Government has to answer the questions raised by the members. Since the parliament began this session, both the question and 0 hour have been disrupted. Now there is one part that you are disrupting your own domain. What you are demanding? Demanding is some discussion. This is the fact that the government very first said. Unfortunately, our finance minister is not well. She is suffering with COVID. And when she would come, she would respond to you. Nothing is going to harm your if you are participating in the parliamentary debate and discourse. Second important thing I am raising that. In parliamentary democracy, you have right to protest. Any extent you can protest. But that extent should not become not only obstruction, but it is a war against the parliamentary democracy. When they play cards, shouting, slogan raising, and you are doing something which is unpalatable, which cannot be telecasted. And if the one side is completely silent, the majority of the ruling party means we constitute majority, NDA, but we remain complete silent. Despite all the provocation, it is no slogan raising, just like abusing the Prime Minister through the slogan.
Okay.
The words they are using, I cannot repeat on TV channels. It is proper for the parliamentary democracy? If you think that this government is a totalitarian government, this government is going against the parliamentary norms, it is tyranny of the majority, you have all, in democracy there are many avenues. Go to the people. In 1974, we went to the people. We mobilized the people against Indira Gandhi. If you think that, we the BJP, we the NDA and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi are going against the democratic norms, go to the people.
Nasir Hussain Saab, it takes, this is a question that taxpayers of this country are asking. It takes 2.5 lakh rupees for every minute of parliament to function. So by that logic, it takes about 140 to 150 crores to that has been lost in the last 5 days because no business has been transacted in either house. The productivity of the Lok Sabha in this session is 16%. The productivity of the Rajya Sabha is 25%. If this trend continues, it will be the third worst ever parliament session since PRS data began in the late 1990s. Nasir Hussain.
Yeah, Zaka, who is responsible for this? Didn't the late Sushma Swaraj and late Arun Jaitley said when they were in opposition that it is the responsibility of the government to see that the parliament functions? And aren't we raising the right questions in the parliament? And don't you think this is the issue that has to be discussed? When you are taxing, when you are levying GST on milk, curd, lassi, buttermilk, ragi, wheat, jaggery, honey, rice, wheat flour, barley, and do you think that we shouldn't raise this issue? And then this government says we are not taxing till you buy 25 kilos. And they say that we will tax only up to 25 kilos and will not tax the people those are buying above 25 kilos. So what is this? That means the poor people who don't have money, who buy only half a kg, 1 kg, 2 kg, they will be taxed. People those who have money and who will buy more than 25 kgs will not be taxed.
Okay.
See, the economic philosophy of our country is you tax the rich and help the poor. Here it is ulta. It is the reverse. You are taxing the poor and helping the rich. So this shouldn't be discussed.
Okay. Professor Sinha, I'll give you the final word. Fair enough. Rise. You don't want to discuss because the minister concerned is not there. But adjournment motions have been moved on Agnipath as well. Adjournment motions have been moved on use of ED, CBI, IT, etc. Surely those ministers can answer.
You know, during the Jayaprakash movement, it was anti-corruption which united the opposition like Jansangh to Socialist and Congress O. And this regime, this contemporary India, it is the pro-corruption is uniting the opposition parties. 21 crore in one minister's home, this is tip of the iceberg, was found. So Trinamool Congress has the opportunity to divert the attention of the people. And Indira, no, I have not. Don't disrupt. Don't make
Sir, one at a time, please. Nasir Hussain Saab, please. He gave you the courtesy of listening. He gave you the courtesy of listening. Please extend him the same courtesy, please. Professor Sinha, only Professor Sinha. Only Professor Sinha, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Professor Sinha. Please answer.
Just see how the opposition is courteous, that they don't know the even norms how to debate. This is the land of debate where people say each other, you reject me, but you don't disrupt. And Congress party, ED is investigating. ED is investigating not because Modi ji has instructed, it's because the High Court has instructed, under the High Court. And it is a loot and plunder of not the BJP headquarters, their own money in National Herald. So the Congress, Trinamool Congress, these parties getting united on the issue of diverting the attention of the people. And last word, the colonial mode was the wreck the system from within. Swarajist adopted this method in 1920s. Now we are in the post-colonial India, where democracy has to flourish. If such a way is the norms of the opposition party, then democracy is going to end. And last word I am telling you.
Okay.
There was a time when Jawaharlal Nehru's son-in-law, just give me 10 seconds, Jawaharlal Nehru's son-in-law, Firoz Gandhi raised the issue of corruption, Mundra case. And the minister had to resign. It was the son-in-law of Jawaharlal Nehru, the issue of the ruling party. Now the time has changed. They are uniting on the basis of corruption. This is most unfortunate. Morality is the essence of democracy.
Right.
If you kill the morality, Indian democracy would be akin to the Latin American democracy.
I am going to wrap up. I want to thank Professor Sinha, Dr. Nasir Hussain for joining us. We'll see how this story plays out. For the moment, these 19 MPs, many of them from Trinamool, other opposition parties, suspended for 1 week. The 4 Congress MPs suspended in the Lok Sabha. Suspended for the remainder of the session. We'll take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, there's flood fury from Rajasthan to Madhya Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. This monsoon season, there doesn't seem to be any let-up. That story and a lot more when BrassTacks returns.